Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is here. Today is another historic day for Bitcoin, on which Bitcoin actually sold off. Pretty interesting and amusing event. A few minutes ago, Donald Trump signed an executive order that establishes a Bitcoin as strategic reserve. What does it mean? Essentially, it means they will be buying. They will not be buying any Bitcoin. They will be keeping what they have. And what they have is supposedly estimated 200,000 Bitcoin that is seized from enforcement actions and supposedly held by U.S. Marshal Service. However, they mentioned that we actually have not audited those, so they're not sure that they have as much. But whatever they have, they're going to keep it in something that's called Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Now, basically, it's a rebrand of what exists. However, the benefit is it will be guaranteed that they won't be selling any Bitcoin and just keep what they have for a long time. Another part of the executive order says that they can buy new Bitcoin in a budget neutral way, in a way that really doesn't cause any burden to taxpayers. Now, this is very interesting and potentially an avenue where we might see some purchase happening, but it really doesn't seem like anything substantial is going to happen for now, at least. But if in the future they find ways to save some money somewhere and then convert that to Bitcoin, they will, but there will be zero extra spending to buy Bitcoin. And there's another section that talks about digital assets. They call it now, we have a separate stockpile of digital assets. That's also similarly keeping everything that they seize, and they will seize from criminals. Any sort of altcoin will be stored there and not sold, but the part where they can purchase more altcoins is not there. So essentially, this is really a Bitcoin only executive order where there is potential. There is like Bitcoin is really being treated differently, and there's potential for purchasing more. However, the market expected a lot more. The market was expecting an actual purchase with printed dollars, which would have been a little bit crazy because that would undermine confidence in the US dollar and would cause a lot of disruption in the world. So a while back, I think March 5th, no, not March 5th, a while back. Yes, yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about the possibilities for this SBR, and I mentioned there's 5 ways it can happen. One is pure nothing burger. The other one is a strategic Bitcoin stockpile plus some weak support for digital assets. Number 3 is a full crypto stockpile, so equally treating Bitcoin and altcoins. Then we have a real Bitcoin reserve in the sense that a lot of people in the Bitcoin community have been expecting, which means they actually do purchase quite some Bitcoin. And the last one is they do the same thing for Bitcoin and crypto. It seems like we got 2 where the most emphasis, the real support is for Bitcoin, and then there is some support for digital assets. And I actually gave 2 the highest rating because it just made the most sense. It's politically the easiest and simplest. Just keep what we have and avoid any fight with other parties that will say, why would taxpayer money be spent on Bitcoin? So they don't have to go through that fight. But it was a smart choice, I think. Very simple, easy to achieve, not so many opposition. Just keep what you have, and potentially later down the road, you can buy more if you're saving money from elsewhere. But I will believe it when I see it. for now, it seems like it's just keeping what we have. However, actually, so I put out a tweet as well last night, and I mentioned everything looks good for Bitcoin on Friday, except that everyone thinks it will look great. The reason I said that was that I just saw a bunch of, right after we had a crash, we had a bounce back up, and then I saw a lot of smart Bitcoiners or podcasters. They were saying, okay, it's over. We're getting the strategic reserve. It's all going to be amazing. Volatility is back. Excitement is back. And at that point, I kind of felt that the market is over positioned and feels kind of too optimistic about this thing. Expectedly, the market crashed right after. I mean, it's very silly that some people actually were positioned. They had opened up substantial positions, assuming that the US government is going to now be pumping their bags with taxpayer money. And they were actually betting quite some money on it. And now that it's not happening to that extent, they are surprised and they're selling. But at core, this is extremely bullish. Extremely bullish. Why? Because it officially puts the stamp of approval of the United States on Bitcoin. So we have had a lot of talk that Bitcoin is not criminal money anymore, and this and that, and Donald Trump and his team supporting it. But this actually makes it official. And there is also the Lomas bill at the Senate, where she's trying to also legally, through Congress, make this happen. But that's not going anywhere, at least for now. It's a very long process. And she has 0 co-sponsors right now. It's a very early stage. But what Trump did elevates Bitcoin to a government level, to a nation state grade asset. Obviously, we have believed this and we have talked about this possibility for many, many years. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, we were talking about this live on different venues, where people were extremely skeptical, almost laughing at this possibility, but we were just entertaining the likelihood. Now it's here. Now the U.S. government officially announces that Bitcoin is kosher. So this has 0 mechanical effect, because obviously they're not buying anything, and they were not about to sell. So essentially, from the supply and demand, it's nothing. From psychological level and from a clarity level, it's huge. It's a green light to a long-awaited green light to a lot of Bitcoin businesses. And a lot of people actually didn't know whether government is actually going to ban Bitcoin or not. I remember like the educational sessions that we were having in the last cycle. The number one concern for people was that Bitcoin is too good for the government to tolerate. It's a competitor to the dollar. It's a competitor to fiat currency. So it made sense for them to block it or ban it, like China did. But again, we were arguing that because the geopolitical game will unfold in such a way that the countries that ban Bitcoin will essentially only ban themselves from the future of money, and they will be left behind, because unless all governments in the world can unanimously do something, there will be different factions. And some people will hold Bitcoin, some people will not. Some governments will hold Bitcoin, some government not. The ones that hold the Bitcoin over time will gain more purchasing power and they will win. And little by little, more and more countries will realize that it's just a losing position to not hold Bitcoin. Just earlier today, we heard Lukashenko. He was saying that from Belarus was saying that his country, he thinks, possibly should mine Bitcoin. It's a profitable thing to do, and he's kind of beginning to think maybe we need it. This thing is going to happen many, many more times in the future, especially right after the most consequential economy in the world has officially established a reserve for Bitcoin. This is extreme amount of additional legitimacy and political energy, political backing that everyone, all other nation states will gain from this. If you are an influential figure in a different country, you'll be able to say, hey, I'm not claiming anything crazy when I say let's establish a Bitcoin reserve. We're just following what the United States did. We don't want to fall behind. And that's extremely bullish. And the fact that people are selling, it shows how young and immature and emotional the market is. Volatility is opportunity. And also, it was very expected, like I said, for this to happen. If you still have some dry powder, good luck. I'm happy for you. I'm almost running out, so it's a sad situation, but I have made some good moves today. If money settles tomorrow, I'll be very happy. But let's see. So that's our long-awaited Bitcoin reserve. After this short-term leverage-driven move is over, over time, the long-term effects of this begins to unfold. I just can't believe every day Bitcoin's fundamentals, the case for Bitcoin gets stronger. And people are so hung up on this short-term moves. Who's going to buy? Who's not going to buy? A little event here and there causes massive up and down in the market. That's unfortunately, the market is very emotional. It's full of people who, just want to trade Bitcoin. And frankly, that just gives more opportunities for two people who have done the homework and they are in it for the long run, and they won't kind of fall prey to the games that the market will play with your psychology. Well, congratulations again, Bitcoiners, and I'll see you in the next video.